Hey guys, this is Danny Boy. This is part 2 of my Wizard series showcasing the new runes for beta patch 13. Not really new runes, but runes that are now actually available in the beta. So I'm using Ray of Frost, trying it out on groups, not very effective against groups, much better against single targets. Switching back to Arcane Orb because of that fact. There will be a lot of editing in this video. I skip around a whole bunch of stuff because, again, I get lost in one of the dungeons just trying to find the way down, which wastes a lot of time, and I just skip a lot of the running. I leveled this guy up to level 12, so I, have 3 playthroughs at least, something like that, of footage for him. There will only be 3 parts, though. There'll be 1 part after this, just showing some of the higher level stuff. If possible, I'd love to actually just put it in this at the end of this video, so I can save some time. But I think I'm not gonna be able to do that. We shall see. See what the future holds. So switching back to some of the older stuff, I will be getting a rune for Arcane Orb shortly, which will be changing it pretty fundamentally, making it a much larger blast radius, and changes the color to a nice blue and black. Arcane Orb is essentially Fireball from Diablo 2. With just a much larger radius, and you can't spam it indefinitely, really. Not that you... I mean, in the very beginning of the game you couldn't indefinitely spam Fireball either, but once you have the proper gear and everything, you pretty much could. For all intents and purposes. So we will shortly be going back into the crypts, which, of all the sequences, and in Diablo 2, I think a lot of people really disliked the monastery. Really disliked going all the way through the outer cloister, then into the the barracks, and then the jail, and then the inner cloister and the catacombs and all that. Just really asinine experience. The cathedral in Diablo 3 is kind of similar, to be honest. It's not anywhere near as annoying as Diablo 2's version, but it's still very easy to miss the way down, and it requires you to do a lot of backtracking, and it's just annoying. Missing the way down and backtracking is always annoying, regardless, in any game. And these crypts in particular suck, just because there's 3 of them, and there doesn't seem to be any rhyme or reason for which one is the right one, as far as I can tell that I've seen thus far. It seems to be just random. So no matter what, a lot of the time you're going to be going to at least 2 crypts, a lot of times all 3 crypts, just to find the right one to find the Chancellor, and it's just really annoying. So I've touched on this. I've talked about how I don't think the bosses are memorable and so on, and the quests, but to go into more detail for the quests, this game, at least for Act 1, and again guys, it being Act 1 is not an excuse. The game should be amazing from the second you turn it on to the second you turn it off. It should always be great. It being Act 1 and it being beta and whatever, and beta is of course not an excuse at this point. Everything that you see now will be in retail at this point. Systems, I highly doubt it, but they might change, but what you're seeing as far as content goes, the act, the aesthetic, the quests, that's going to be retail. So that's not an excuse. It's just compared this game to Diablo 2, or even Diablo 1. And Diablo 1 had some, really, I would even say some of Diablo 1's quests were more memorable than Diablo 2's. But compare this game, the Chancellor. I'm picking up Arcane Orb, by the way. The rune gives it a much larger blast radius, changes the color. Gives it a 20-yard radius. For a skill that does 250% weapon damage to have a 20-yard radius, incredibly powerful. Easily one of the strongest skills in the entire beta. I'll demonstrate that in a second. But going back to what I was saying, the Chancellor compared to, I talked about the Smith and Bloodraven and whatever in Diablo 2. But to go back to Diablo 1, the Skeleton King of this game versus the Orc of Diablo 1. The Butcher versus anything you've seen in Act 1. I mean, the Butcher is a memorable experience in Diablo 1, and is a great introduction to the game. Just the Poison Spring, the Hall of the Blind, the Chamber of Bone, which I talked about, Leoric, the Warlord of Blood, Lochdannen, I mean, stuff like that, the Meteorite quest, all of those things. Those were great, and those were memorable. There's nothing here that's really remotely memorable. All you have is the Skeleton King. He's the final boss, so by that alone you'll remember him. And I guess the Legacy of Kain, and the only reason you remember that is just because it's Kain, and he's one of the main characters of the series, one of the most important characters of the series, and fans generally, it's one of their favorite characters. Beyond that, I mean, maybe getting the blacksmith, but then, I mean, I remember you kill his wife, you know, for whatever reason, but she's possessed or something, but I mean, there's no tangible rewards, there's no skill points, there's no respec, or even, you know, uniques. There's no uniques. You know, when Diablo 2 didn't follow that approach, Diablo 1 did. You know, the Veil of Steel and the Undead Crown and some of the other items you got in Diablo 1 were great, especially for your first playthrough of the game. Whereas, I mean, Diablo 2, it was more stat upgrades and, like I said, skill points and, you know, stuff like that. Or runes, you know, when you smash the Soulstone on the Hellforge. I don't know, it's disappointing. Because there's literally nothing. There's not a single reward in the entirety of Act 1 that's cool. The closest thing you get is your teleport stone. And all that is a town portal scroll. I mean, big freaking deal. It's a part of the core mechanics of the game. That's nothing special. It's not even something you need to use almost, I mean, practically ever in this anyway, just because of how frequent the waypoints are. I mean, if you watch all my videos, you see I go to town. The only times I pretty much ever go to town are when I need to, because that's the way the story flows, and you go to town to continue quests and whatever. Beyond that, I never go to town to sell, really. If you just pick up magic items throughout all of Act 1, you'll only need to sell when you finish the act. And even then you won't sell, you'll just salvage it all anyway. For killing the Skeleton King, I think killing the Skeleton King on the Wizard might actually be the easiest that you can do in beta. The only thing that comes close and is probably competitive would be Piercing Arrow Demon Hunter is really, really strong, but this is I'm not sure which is faster. It doesn't really matter. Yeah, I don't know. I'm just disappointed about about the quests, the quest rewards, and just the act in general. It doesn't have the ambiance that I would like. It doesn't have the progression that I would like. It's incredibly short, which is, I mean, it's good and bad. It's good because it's not that fun to begin with, so it's good that it gets over pretty quick. It's bad because why is it not that fun to begin with? It should be amazing. My jaw should have dropped. And, you know, I know a lot of people out there probably disagree with me, but to those that do, I would really like to hear precisely why. Because, to me, if you disagree with me, I just think you haven't played enough video games to really have wide enough breadth of knowledge and enough experience to really unbiasedly, critically examine the game. I mean, I like to think I'm not biased. I really have no reason to be out of favor with Blizzard. I mean, obviously I am against their business practices as of late. But as far as the game goes, I hope that's not affecting my opinion. Maybe it is. So I'm demonstrating explosive bolts now. Makes charged bolts way more useful against groups. It creates those nice little electrical explosions there. Still not very useful against single targets, but it is what it is. I definitely enjoyed this skill far more once it's been upgraded. I think we're going to skip along to, yes, I am now a melee mage. I wanted to just add in the last bit of the runes that I tried out on the Wizard as part of this video. Keep it as just a two-parter. My purposes, and so just gave you a glimpse of charged bolts, giving you a glimpse of melee mage. Melee mage really hasn't changed much, if at all. In fact, I don't think it's changed at all. It's the same basic kit. Maybe there's a rune thrown in there somewhere, but I don't. I think Shatter for Frost Nova. When you kill an opponent that has Frost Nova on them, there's like a 50% chance for another Frost Nova to launch, which is okay, nice enough. Not really necessary, considering Frost Nova is not necessary for the beta. A souped up version isn't necessary. That's Diamond Skin, by the way. But I just used a defensive absorb. So yeah, you know, I'm trying to be fair in my judgments of the game. And these are just, again, these are just my opinions. These are just what I've seen and how I feel about the game thus far. Things may change, but and again, it's a good game. It is. It's a good game. It's just not what I would expect it to be. And Bashiak just said he's afraid that there's no way they're going to be able to meet players' expectations. And honestly, if you play Diablo 1 and Diablo 2 and you've been waiting for this game for 10 years, he's right. There's no way they're going to meet expectations. There's really no way they can meet my expectations. Though, I think the things that I've complained about, the only thing I think I've complained about that is purely subjective is the aesthetic of the game. And it's not quite as dark as I wanted, the pentagrams and blah blah blah. But I think everything else really is objective and could have easily been changed and should have been changed. And I think a big part of this is simply that this game is being designed by this Blizzard development staff. The previous two games were designed by Blizzard North, and they have very different views and perspectives, and just they make very different designing choices, development choices, and you can see that in Torchlight and Torchlight 2. So, and I miss a lot of their choices. This team, you can tell that they worked on World of Warcraft. I mean, there's just similarities there. So we're now switching to Electrocute as my signature builder, and again, or rather, my signature doesn't build anything, it's just a free spell. It's fine, but it's nothing special. It's just Chain Lightning. I mean, when it comes down to it. Actually, a weak Chain Lightning, because when it's unruined, it can only arc like 2 or 3 times. So there's really no signatures that I found that I like. Interesting, because it's quite the opposite on the Demon Hunter. The Demon Hunter, I only like the Hatred Builders, I don't like any of the Hatred Spenders, whereas on the Mage, I don't like any of the signatures, which would be equivalent to the Hatred Builders, even though they don't build anything. And I only like the Spenders, which is interesting. Hopefully, again, something will pop up that I'll like. I don't really know what other builders they have that I haven't seen, though. That actually might be all of them. In fact, that is all of them. There are 4, so that's all you got. Disappointing. I don't know what I'll wind up using. I guess I'll just use Magic Missile. Maybe Electrocute, but I don't really... Magic Missile's okay, I guess. The only reason I say that is because, well, it's Magic Missile. It's one of the most fundamental D&D wizard spells out there in World of Warcraft. And here we have Arcane Torrent. Definitely one of the coolest spells that I've seen. It's what I would envision a Magic Missile to be. Well, not quite, but it's an extension of that sort of idea. And it's cool, it's powerful, it has a good damage to arcane focus, or whatever it's called, arcane power ratio, long range. Yeah, can't say enough good things about it. Definitely one of the better designed spells for the wizard, or just in the beta in general. Very pleased. This is the only character I got to level 12, and I did it specifically to see this ability, and I'm not disappointed. It is fun to play around with, and it makes me want to play a wizard. But we'll see. Definitely won't be my first character. I think my bud's gonna play wizard first, but one of my buds. And I'll be playing the Witch Doctor, but I'll definitely come around to it eventually and play like a Missile Mage that just uses Magic Missile and Arcane Torrent and, I don't know, something else. Some utility abilities, Meteor maybe, fun, or random. Alright guys, well again, this video is winding down. Thanks so much for watching. Leave comments, subscribe, give me a thumbs up if you liked it. Next on the list will be our final class, the Barbarian. That will also definitely just be a 2-parter, because I only think I got to level 9 on him, just one playthrough or so. Alright guys, thanks for watching. Have a good one.